My wife Adeline and I got married 2 years ago. We met as co-workers and both of us were in our 30s at the time. Adeline had always dreamed of starting a family. So after we tied the knot, she decided to become a housewife. Adeline thrived in her new role. She handled all the household chores with an enthusiasm that made me feel lucky and content. I was happy with how we had divided our responsibilities, and I shared her desire for children. However, 2 years passed, and despite our initial plans, we hadn't made any progress towards starting a family. At first, I didn't worry too much. I began to think it might be better for us to simply enjoy our time together for a little longer before diving into parenthood with that mindset. I didn't press the issue. One night, my colleagues invited me to an impromptu end-of-party. It was a last-minute plan, so I called Adeline to let her know I apologized for the sudden change and asked if she'd be okay with it. She was incredibly understanding and support-assuring me. It was fine for me to have fun. Adeline even said she'd prepare something for me to eat later if I came home hungry. Her thoughtfulness made me grateful for her once again. After the party, I walked home from the train station. The streets were quiet, and I was lost in thought when something unexpected happened. I saw Adeline on the other side of the street, but she wasn't alone. She was walking with a man. I didn't recognize. They were holding hands, laughing together, and looked entirely too comfortable with one another. My heart sank. I quickly ducked into the shadows of a nearby bus stop, trying to process what I had just seen. Looking back, I realized there had been signs. Adeline had been acting strangely for some time. She knew my work schedule from our time as co-workers, and she had recently started asking me oddly specific questions about when I would be home. I'd also noticed she was spending more time on her phone. Whenever I asked about it, she'd brush me off, saying she was just playing games, but seeing her with that man made everything fall into place. My stomach churned with realization. Adeline was having an affair. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but doubt crept in. What if I was misunderstanding the situation? What if I'd jumped to conclusions? I hesitated, convincing myself to wait for more evidence. A few days later, my chance came. Adeline left her phone on the living room table while she went to take a bath. I knew it was wrong, but the unease noted me. I couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that something was amiss. I unlocked her phone and scrolled through her messages. What I found shattered me. Adeline hadn't bothered to delete anything. The messages between her and her lover were explicit and filled with intimacy. There were countless selfies of them together, laughing and smiling. What hurt most was discovering they had been planning a 1-year anniversary trip, Aspa getaway scheduled for the following week. I felt like my entire married life had been a lie. Our happy memories suddenly seemed tainted. I took photos of everything I found as evidence, then carefully placed her phone back where I had found it that night. I couldn't sleep. My mind was consumed with thoughts of betrayal, and I felt utterly lost. 2 days later, Adeline casually mentioned that she was going on a trip with her university friend Alice the following Wednesday. I already knew the truth. This was the spa trip she had planned with her lover. I decided to act as though I knew nothing, and even encouraged her to have fun. But inside I was seething with anger. I was furious at Adeline for betraying me and equally frustrated with myself for allowing her to deceive me. For so long that day, I made the decision to hire a private investigator to gather more evidence. The day of Adeline's trip arrived. She left early in the morning, excited and full of energy. I had secretly taken the day off from work, planning to spend the day distracting myself with video games. Few hours later, I received a message from her saying she had arrived safely at her destination. It had been so long since I last saw Alice. I'm really happy for her, she wrote. But the message only made me feel sick. She was on a trip with her lover, and she was joking about me cheating on her. I kept my composure and replied, telling her not to worry about things at home and to enjoy herself. Even jokingly added that I was expecting some souvenirs. Of course I won't cheat on you, I wrote, trying to keep the conversation light, though I was deeply disturbed by her audacity. The next day, she messaged me again asking, "Good morning, are you eating proper meals? I can't seem to use my credit card. Wonder what's going on. Could you transfer me some money?" At that moment, I knew it was time to confront her. I had blocked her card, so I replied, "You can't use your card because I blocked it. I won't send you any money, so ask the person you're with." She seemed confused and angry, replying, "What are you saying I can't do?" "That I told you I'm with Alice. I can't just borrow money from her." "Why would you block the card?" "Did you Max it out, she tried to make it sound like I was being unreasonable, so I calmly explained. No, that's not it. Her frustration only grew and she started scolding me. Why are you acting so weirdly? Have you gone crazy? She asked, her tone full of disbelief. I couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. You're the one acting weirdly. Don't you realize what you're doing? I asked her flatly. Who are you with right now? There was a pause before she stammered. I told you I'm with Alice. I responded. Well, before we got married, we had lunch. With Alice, I even exchanged numbers with her. I called her today to wish her a fun trip with you, but she didn't know anything about a trip. The silence on the other end was deafening after what seemed like an eternity. Adeline spoke again. I'm sorry. Should have told you I came here alone. I didn't want you to worry, so I lied about being with Alice. I'm sorry. But her apology was empty. I was done. I figured it all out on my own, I said firmly, my voice resolute without waiting for her to respond. I hung up the phone, grabbed the suitcase I had packed earlier, and took one last look around the house. Without another word, I walked out, leaving everything behind. That evening, I met with the private investigator I had hired. He handed me a file with all the evidence he had gathered over the past few weeks. I thanked him, paid him, and left feeling a strange mixture of relief and dread. Not long after, Adeline called me again, her voice frantic, filled with confusion and panic. Owen, where are you? I got home and your stuff is gone. What's with these divorce papers on the table? I could hear the panic in Adeline's voice, but I remained calm. I've moved out, I said. I've already rented a new place. Please sign the divorce papers and send them to my parents' house. I won't be seeing you anymore at first. Adeline seemed confused, but that quickly turned into anger. She demanded to know what I meant by springing this on her. She felt that I was divorcing her without even discussing it first. She claimed she could sue me for this then. Her tone shifted to exhaustion. Do you think I wouldn't find out about your affair? Shest, I saw what you left inside the envelope. There was a pause before. Heard the sound of paper rustling as she opened the envelope. That's just an old business partner. I said he helped me a lot when I was working, so I couldn't say no when he invited me to dinner. How did you even get these photos? Have you been stalking me? Her excuses were so transparent, and I felt a twinge of sadness for how easily she lied. Stop lying. Adeline, I said, my voice firm. I wonder now if anything you ever told me was true. I saw you two together recently, by chance, and that made me look through your phone. I know you've been seeing him for over a year. I hired a private investigator to gather evidence, so know everything. I also spoke to your parents about this. They apologized to me for what you've done. You should apologize to them as well. Her voice wavered again, disbelief lacing her words. Wait, you spoke to my parents? Why didn't you talk to me first? I didn't think you were capable of something like this, I replied. Her anger didn't faze me. You're right. I said we should get divorced. If you're happier with him, then I hope you find the happiness you're looking for. Weeks passed and I started settling into my new, quieter life, but Adeline wasn't done. She called me again, this time. Furious. Owen, because of you, his wife found out everything. She took the kids and left him. His family knows now too. I couldn't help but feel a twisted sense of satisfaction. Now that this wife knows, maybe they'll get divorced and you two can finally be together. Her voice softened, almost pleading. I wanted that, but now he's telling me he can't get a divorce and doesn't want to see me anymore. Why did this have to happen? It was strange hearing her try to draw sympathy for me. After everything, he chose his family over you, Adeline. His wife's family is wealthy after all. She tried to change the subject. Owen, I've said some hurtful things, but I miss you. Why don't we give it another try? Her selfishness was clear. I have no interest in going back to the way things were, I said firmly. Please, just sign the divorce papers. My lawyer has already been in touch with you from now on. Direct all communication through him. There was silence on the other end, and I took the opportunity to end the call. Oh,